What's up, everybody? We are live with Unfiltered Live. Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm out here in Vegas with my buddy Bryson for one of the masterminds that I'm in called Founders Board. Landed last night, got in here, and the show must go on. So I'm missing the beginning of the sessions down there in the ballroom. So great to see all of you guys here. Keep in mind, here to answer your questions, help you with your business, with your growth, with your marketing, your teams, your success, your products, whatever you need help with. Here to do that for you. I have a couple things that are top of mind for me today that I'm going to share. But if you have any questions or anything that I can help you guys with, just hit the raise hand in Zoom and we'll get you right on there. All right. Let's hear in the chat from everybody, where are you calling in from? Where are you located today? And also, once you've hit enter on that one, any wins that you have for the past week. It's always good to share your wins. It's very easy for us entrepreneurs to always just focus on the next thing that needs to happen, right? Like, oh, like working on this and working on this, and you forget the success that you had just yesterday. So it's really helpful to remind ourselves of how we're winning. Yeah, cool. I see we got Fairfax, we got Denmark, we got Minnesota, we got Kongstead, we got Lund or outside Lund, Sweden. By the way, Jeff, I see you here. Great to see you, man. Thanks for the book. Jeff sent me an audiobook, and it's really good. I started it. Was it yesterday or the day before? And I'm really enjoying it. Good stuff. I can definitely see. It's called The Road Less Stupid, I think. Is that the title? Keith Cunningham. So it's all about, The Road Less Stupid. Here we go. Here is the, I don't know if you guys can see, The Road Less Stupid. I've heard of Keith before, but I've actually never read that one. So I really appreciate it. All about having a better thought process for making decisions. And if I look back at my career, holy crap, have I made a lot of really terrible decisions. Like a lot. Very, very expensive decisions that I made. One big one was a couple of years ago. I hired a COO, Chief Operating Officer. So that's typically the kind of person that you have inserted between yourself and the rest of the organization. So if you have an organization where you have, say for my company, it would be, you would have, marketing, director of marketing or head of marketing or VP of marketing, whatever you call that. But that person who's driving marketing, then you have sales, then you have product, then you have engineering, then you have customer success, and then you have admin operations. And so each of those different departments will have their own lead. And then typically, normally they would all report to the CEO, but in the case of a COO, what you typically do, and there are multiple ways to do this, but a common typical way to do it is that now all of these department heads report to the COO, and then the CEO basically has that one report and maybe an executive assistant, maybe a chief of staff or some other person like that that's kind of more out on the side. Anyway, so I hired this COO who's a phenomenal guy. I love him. He's amazing. But he wasn't a great COO, or at least he wasn't a great COO for me and for what I needed for this company. And when all was said and done, we spent, I think, 9 months working together, trying to make that role work. And finally, one day I was like, hey, Matt, be honest. If you were me and you knew what you knew today, would you hire you for this role? And he was like, very clear answer was like, no, I wouldn't. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of how I feel too. And then he was like, you know what? If I knew what I knew today, would I have taken this role? I'm like, all right, why do we find something else to do? Like, we can be friends without having this kind of relationship. So we just ended it there. And I did the math on what that cost me. And it was $500,000, like $500,000 in salary for him, plus, all the different projects and expenses that we did that I thought that I did because I trusted him to be the one to roll them out and take them to profitability, and it didn't happen. And I'm not blaming him for that. That's, you know, on me and my leadership as well, and on me hiring him and all those things. So, but it was yeah, $500,000 mistake. By the way, I'm just gonna fix my background. I'm noticing this pillow here makes it look kind of silly. Actually, we should move this chair. Would you do me a favor? Do that. Makes my background look a little weird. Yeah, $500,000, guys. So making better decisions is a really good idea. Like really thinking through, and that book has a great framework, or multiple frameworks. So I'm looking forward to diving in to that some more. Yeah, let me see here. We got Norway. We got a win here. Started a January challenge, the 7th of January, and almost 200 participants in the Facebook group. That's amazing. Good job, Anam. Anam, is it? Yeah, that's so cool. And Jeff, you got clear on what you need to make happen. That's amazing. Yes, cool. Yeah, so I'm appreciating that book. There's another book that I read recently, which is called Amp It Up. So that one is kind of all about getting, when you're having a bigger team, right? Getting your team to really rally behind a mission and a cause and really kind of gel at a high and operate at a high level. And there's one thing in particular that I took from that, which is the difference between drivers and passengers. So in a team, there are certain people who can drive stuff and who can take the lead on something and take it to success. And then there are other people who can't do that, and they're passengers, right? They will do what you tell them to do, but they're never going to be the person driving it to success. And it's really, really critical when you're operating a business to know who's who and know what you need when you're hiring, right? Are you looking to hire a driver, someone who can take charge of an area and really drive results? Or are you looking for a passenger, someone who can come in and take direction and just do what they're being asked and do it correctly, right? Yeah, I'm saying, like horses, there are riders that ride, and then that are transporters. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, right. And so it's a very important distinction to have with your teams, that you're and having the understanding, because one of the mistakes that I've made over and over again is hire people thinking that they're going to be drivers, but then they're not. And it doesn't work out, right? It doesn't work because obviously, like, they're not driving. If they're not driving and I'm not driving, then like, where the hell are we going, right? That's not going to be successful. And I've noticed about myself, like the only way that I know to generate results, to make stuff happen, is I need to get my hands in there dirty, like fingers in the code, like, you know, looking at the details, implementing it, writing the copy, or doing the things. I need to be in it. And then that's the way that I figure out what it needs to be, what I want it to be, how it needs to work. And the mistakes that I've made is, like, I've tried to hire people to do that by sort of on my behalf. But if I hire a passenger to try to do that, that's never going to happen, right? They just come in and then they're just going to do the thing, but they're not learning. They're not, you know, developing those processes and optimizing and like doing all of those things that go into that I do when I do it. And so that's definitely been a huge learning. Yeah. Let me know if that resonates. Yeah, just curious if you've experienced that in your life, if with team members or teams that you've been on in other endeavors, or anything like that. I'd be curious to hear what you've experienced in the chat, or you can raise your hand and just share anything that you have.
You know, before you do that, I do have a question.
Yes.
Regarding that. So what do you look like? What does the interview process look like, or the questions that you're asking to differentiate a driver from a passenger during the hiring process?
Yeah, I think that the way that you would vet for this, and this is not something that we've done, but it's definitely something that I need to be doing going forward, right? It would be talking about a specific project that this person worked on, and then getting them to explain to me exactly what the decision process were. Like, what were the decision points? What was the process? How did they arrive at that decision? What alternatives did they try? Like, how did they drive that project to success? And if this person can explain every single point on that journey, I tried this and that didn't work, and then we tried this and we thought this was the reason why, this was the assumption that we made, and then we devised this test to find out if that was going to work. And then if they can walk you through the process and the thought process behind it, and explain their role in it, their chances are they're going to be a driver. If they're more like yeah, we did this and then we did that and then we did this, but they don't know why, and they don't know why it was pivoted, and they don't know why it failed and what the assumptions were and all those details, then probably not, right? Then they're not a driver. Yeah. Candace is saying, I mostly try to do everything myself because I feel I'm a driver and it's not working at all. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's really hard because, like, I think, I don't know any percentages, but I would say like 90%, 95%, 99% of people are passengers, right? Most people are not drivers, and it's not a binary thing necessarily. You can be driving or driver-passenger in different contexts. We also use another kind of similar concept here of the lead follower, right? Like the leader says what to do and the follower is doing it, and that in a good dynamic that will jump from moment to moment, right? I'm leading here, I'm talking, then Bryson jumps in, I have a question, then he's leading, I'm following by answering his question, right? So that kind of lead follow dynamic can happen a lot. So it doesn't have to be binary, but yeah, you have to, in order to grow, you have to figure out the people portion. It's been the hardest thing that I've ever done in my career is figuring out the people portion of the business, and I'm still learning. We're at about 30 people now. I'm still learning every single day about how to be effective with teams, with other people, and this is a big piece of it, of realizing the value and the importance of drivers. And if we don't really have the drivers for it, then we're 100% limited by the capacity of those drivers that we have. And right now, honestly, like, I'm the main driver here. I mean, I'm always going to be the main driver, but we don't have that many drivers. So as a company, we have a fairly limited bandwidth for what we can accomplish, or what we can focus on at any given time. It's much better to just be like, okay, we're doing this one thing, and we're just going to focus on making that really darn good. And my tendency is I'm hungry, like I want all of it right now. Let's do this and let's do that. And it's that, like, my mind, I'm go like, well, if I could just find this person who can take on this project and do that thing and evolve it to success, is going to be great. But then, like, it doesn't work, right? It rarely works. I was just talking to one of my founder friends, founder of another software as a service company, who was saying, yeah, last year he had to kind of get into product to fix some things there, and then he hired someone to run marketing for him, and then he realized that that person was good but not great, and so now the marketing had kind of fallen off and it wasn't working as well. It was seeing worse results it was declining, and so he's like, okay, now I need to go over and focus on the marketing again, right? And it's just it's just how it is. A lot of drivers are entrepreneurs themselves, or they're already in a very successful position. Like the good people in general, you don't find through ads, right? Because they're not looking for a job. They're already in a job and they're successful. So the good people have to be poached. You have to go find them where they currently are in the job they're at, and then initiate that conversation and entice them to jump over. Yeah, let me see here. But for figuring out how to get people to work for you, right? It's, if you're the driver and you're the sole driver, then it's a matter of building SOPs, building standard operating procedures that really spell out in written form, or you can do a video or whatnot. But written is easier to edit, but that spells out exactly what needs to happen. What are the steps? And then you get people to follow that. That can scale very, very well. But you, as the owner, as the founder, as the driver, you have to be the one that develops the SOP, and you have to document it and write it down and train them in it and coach them on it, right? And be on it, make sure they're actually following it. And then also follow it up and tweak it over time. And then that's your limit, is your bandwidth to build SOPs and monitor that, right? Once you've built it and it's running, you can just let it running. So, yeah, let me see here. Anonymous, I feel it's very difficult to have people into your mind-bration and vision because people often are too narrow-minded and small thinking. 100%, yeah. That as a founder, you probably have a different mind-bration. I like that word. And mindset and vision and all of that stuff. And I think it's always going to be the case, right? That you as the founder are different from other people and other people in the organization. I think that is inevitable. But obviously over time, build that inner circle of people where you are more on a similar vibration. And I would say, I think it comes down to also really looking inside you. Let me talk about me. I've noticed that there are certain parts of my quote unquote vibration that I don't always share with the team in the same way or in the way that I could be more upfront with that. Some of the things that I'm doing, like it quickly ends up being talking about kind of the practical things and maybe a little bit like vision, direction, where we're going. But some of the more woo-woo stuff that I do, I don't necessarily discuss with my team. There's some people in the team that I will, but I could talk a lot more about that and kind of lead in that way as well. Anne is asking, how did you get Sammy? He's so good. That is a great question. And I agree. Sammy's fantastic. So I got Sammy by being a foodie. So, and going to wisdom spirituality conferences. I went to a conference in New York City called Wisdom 2.0. And went there, and then the lunch break, we were on our own to go out in the West Village of Manhattan to find some lunch. And I go out and I see that there's this food truck in Washington Square Park that has a line of like 50 people waiting. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, this must be good. You don't normally see like a hot dog stand in Central Park with like a line of 50 people or more. So I was like, something's up. So I was like, checked it out. And I made a note to come back later. And so I did, because I wouldn't have time to stand in line and wait during that lunch break. So I made a point to come back at some other time, like the day after or something, where I could get there early and get in line and not have to wait people were waiting for hours for this. Wow. And so it was a food truck that sold dosas. And does anyone here know what a dosa is? Does anyone have a clue what a dosa is? Have you had a dosa, Bryson?
Never.
No, do you know what it is?
I have no clue.
You would hate it.
Sounds Eastern.
It is Indian food. It is Indian food. It is a South Indian dish. So I lived in South India for a year, so I had dosa there. It was actually the very first meal we had in the car that took us from the airport. It was like a 3-4 hour ride from the airport to where we were going. And so he stopped in at this restaurant to serve us masala dosa. So a dosa is like a lentil something pancake with I think it's lentil batter. Maybe Shoutout, you remember what's in the batter, but it's a batter something like that. And then you can eat it just like that, plain, or the masala dosa has potatoes in it in like a masala, what's it called, spice curry kind of thing. And then So you put that, they roll it up, and then you serve it with coconut chutney and whatnot. And this dals that are fermented. Thank you, Shoutout. Yes. So anyway, so I'm at this food cart waiting for this dosa, and it's like, and the guy is like, guys, we're out. I don't have any more batter. Like, we're not going to be able to serve everybody. Go home. Like, leave the line. You're going to be waiting in vain. And I was like, dude, I waited here for so long and I planned for this. So like, I'm just staying. Even if there's no food, I'm staying. It's fine. This guy, Sammy, stands behind me. And so we start talking, and he's like, yeah, he's doing this coaching business. And I'm like, that's cool. I'm in a similar kind of online business myself. And as we got talking, and as luck would have it, enough people had left in the line before us that I got the last dosa, and then Sammy was screwed. Except, of course, I couldn't do that. So I split the dosa with him, and we got half a dosa each. And so he promised me that he would buy me a dosa at some other point, and we exchanged information. And then the pandemic happened, and then so at some point, like summer 2020, I think I reached out and said, "Hey, what about that? You owe me a dosa, you fucker," and so, or something to that effect. And we met up, and then we just became friends. And then this summer, we got talking. We went to a house upstate together with another friend, and we got talking about doing high ticket. And he was like, I'm not that excited about my own business right now. I really like to do sales. And we started scheming about doing some high ticket sales together. And that's how I found Sammy. And so you'll note here that Sammy is a business owner himself, right? So he knows how to drive shit. He's definitely a driver. I heard Dan Kennedy say something the other day, which is a good indicator or litmus test, or for good hires. He didn't say drivers specifically, but for good hires, is if their parents were entrepreneurs, if their parents owned a business and they worked in the business as kids, right? Those people are going to be great team members. They're going to be there. They know the grind. They know the drill. They know what's involved, especially if their parents had a restaurant. They work long hours and, on their feet all the time, right? So I think that's a good indicator. I heard another, someone else, the Pink CEO, I forget what her real name is. She calls her Pink CEO. Her interview question was, tell me about the first time you made money. How did you make money? What was the first way that you made money, right? And you want to listen for something that's not a job. You want to listen for, well, I did a lemonade stand, or I shoveled snow, or something that they did to make money from an early age. It's funny, it's like Candace is talking about, as a driver and in reference to horses, I'm lead mare, I guess, but I need to learn how to delegate. Yes. Learning to delegate, it's tricky, right? Because it is that. Like, if you get a driver, it's pretty easy because you can say, here's the thing, go make it happen, go figure it out. But if it's not a driver, then you need to be really specific. We use a framework called the passing of responsibility framework. So you say what it is, and then you give a bunch of specific parameters. Is there a deadline? What is the quality of work that needs to be done? Like, is it a shitty first draft, or is it a fully polished thing that you can send to our client, or what is it? How do you report on the progress, and to whom? At what point do you need to check in and get check in on if you're moving in the right direction? Do you have resources available to you? Do you have authority to hire other people, etc.? Can you delegate it to someone else? All of those things need to be specified. If you have a process, then you need to specify what the process is. And then, but before you do all of that, you need to explain to people, why is this important? Why is it important to do this, to hold this obligation? You're essentially saying, I have an obligation, like as a business owner, right? I have an obligation to everyone who's a client to keep the site running and up and performing, and not go down and not be full of bugs, and to some extent to keep evolving the product. That's my obligation. It will always be mine. But I can ask someone else on the team to hold pieces of that obligation for me. But it's really helpful if I explain to them why it's important and what's the consequence if they don't hold that obligation. And then finally, you check with people, do you have the capability, meaning your skills and knowledge, whatever, are you capable of performing this, of holding this obligation? And do you have the capacity, meaning do you have the time to do so? And then you get the check-in from people saying, yes, I have the capability and I have the capacity. And then you check in, will you commit to doing this? And you get affirmed, yes, I commit. And if that commitment is made, that's, sacred. Like that needs to be held or renegotiated. Or they can come back and say, I can't commit to this, but here's what I could commit to instead. And then you can have that conversation. And that's something whenever we do that is really, really helpful. And we don't do it always. And I'm terrible at keeping that up. But every once in a while, we'll go back and we have a framework. We have the whole thing outlined as a bullet point. And I'll pull that in as a template for a Slack post or something to delegate to something. And that helps me go through all of that. So delegation is really, really crucial. Yeah. And then for me, the insurance policy, as I like to think of it, of when do you need to check in with me again? Right? So that people don't just run off and they spend, 10 hours on something where I was like, wait, I could have told you half an hour in that was not what I had in mind. So that's important. All right, Anne, what you got?
Okay, my question is what I'm just really getting clear on, and I love the Simplero Academy for this, is because I want to get your take on this. When people have a money mindset problem, that they think they have that, but really they have a business problem. And they think by keep changing their money mindset, it's going to fix their business problem. And I love the range that you have inside the Academy because you kind of hit all the categories and it's really the most encompassing, fix your business problems too kind of thing. So I would just like to hear more take on that, because I think that's often misunderstood, although money mindset is important. But when we're kind of blaming our business problems on a money mindset problem, it's really a business problem.
Yeah, 100%. I love that you bring that up. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's the money mindset problem is important because if you can't envision it, then you can't make it happen, right? But if you think that you can just do the money mindset and then you get the results, not going to work, right? Systems are crucial. You need to have the systems. So, what are the systems for you to acquire a customer? What is your system for ascending a customer? What is your system for fulfilling the things that you promise to your customers? That's where that needs to be there, or nothing's going to work.
So how did you dance in your own business between, scaling it, growing it, and knowing when is this a mindset? I mean, I know there's a dance in that. There's the inner and outer shifts, like that video that you had just put out.
100%. Right. I have this engineering background, right? I'm a programmer, so my mind is always wired to create systems, build it, set it. And what's so great about computers is they never complain, they never sleep, they never ask for a raise, they don't have sick days, right? They don't forget to do something that you asked it to do. It might stop doing something, but there's a reason why, a disk drive filled up or something, right? So now you're okay, we need to have something to mitigate that or monitor for that. So that's why computers are so great. And I think that's been my saving grace, is that I've built a software platform, a machine that is very, very self-running. But there are lots of other areas in my business that are actually, they're kind of broken. Our customer acquisition engine right now is broken. and it's something that we're working very hard on fixing. And it's been hard for me because I always gravitate to product. And so I'll give you an example with this of the inner outer dance of like, I'm, as I'm working to address that on the customer acquisition engine or machine or what you want to call it, I bump up against, like, I will do things and notice that they're not working. And then I will be, okay, what do we need to change here? And in that moment where I'm noticing it's not working, I do inner and outer, right? So I'm like, okay, what is the behavior change that needs to happen here for me, for the team, for the company as a whole? What are the systems that we need to put in place to have this happen, right? Customer acquisition, we need to have a traffic source. Is it going to be paid? Is it going to be partner? Is it going to be organic? Is it going to be all three? Probably at some point. Can we, with the amount of drivers we have, tackle all three? No, we can't. We can only tackle one of them. All right, let's get going with that, right? But then there's an inner piece, and this is something that I've been noticing for me lately is new layers of my victim side that have been revealed in this process. And it's fascinating. So the victim is that part of us that's helpless, that says, I can't do this, nothing is working, and why isn't it nobody, and like whining, right? Poor me. And I used to live there, right? And that used to be the place that I live. So it hasn't been kind of top of mind for me business-wise lately, but now I just realized that I'm doing like a massive victim game when it comes to this. It's my kind of original victim is around, like, people are terrifying and scary, and they say mean things and they make me, feel hurtful feelings. And computers are my friends because they don't say nasty things and they do what I tell them to do, right? And so I'm realizing, holy crap, like I'm actually playing a part of that out again with, like, because marketing is all about people. You got to make people care. You got to make them listen. You got to make them like take action and do the things that you want them to do. And you got to, like, really meet them and at their level and all these things. I'm like, oh, right. And I think so it's not money mindset, but it is like mindset, inner game stuff, right? And so it's something that I've really noticed that victim persona can be a thing that just needs to be peeled off and peeled off and peeled off and peeled off, just layer after layer after layer. And if you're not used to it, when you go and you recognize, like, oh shit, I'm a victim about this, it doesn't feel good. But then when you flip it around, you're like, oh, that means I can be in control now. I can be the creator, right? I can switch out of victim mode and be the creator here by just being, what is the outcome that I want? What are the steps that I can take to make that outcome happen? And be much more intentional about it. Then you can actually start to achieve what you're looking for. So if you focus on that piece of it, then it doesn't hurt as bad to recognize that you've been a victim.
Yeah, I love how I feel like this is what makes it sort of like successful in me, a super fan of Simplero, because you talk about both these aspects, the business and the mindset, even if we just talked about money mindset, but because they're so interrelated. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really unique how you bring both of that to the table.
I appreciate that so much. And yeah, they are so interrelated. Like back to the book that Jeff bought for me, right? Of like how many stupid decisions we all make. And we're doing that from our unconscious programming, from our emotional layer, which is not our rational thought. Like we are not rational decision makers. We're just not. Right? It was one of the big fallacies in economic theory of like the rational economic player, consumer, whatever. Like people are just not rational. We all do stuff for emotional reasons, and that's going to be driven by your subconscious mind. I think it's like, if your conscious mind, if this, these drapes behind me, this curtain behind me, and the whole wall is the subconscious mind. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The conscious mind would be like, if I pointed a laser at one tiny spot up there, that probably would be too big for the conscious mind. That, like, we're so run by our subconscious mind that it impacts every level of our decision making. Yeah.
That was great. Thank you.
And then thank you, Anne. Yeah. And then when you really take the time to build a solid system, whatever it is, and I can let you go, but if you want to jump in again, feel free to. But yeah, so if you take the time to really build a solid system, you only need to build it once, and then maybe revisit it some years down the line. But you can build a machine with one lead source and one conversion mechanism, maybe a lead magnet, one audience, one offer, and you can build that to $1 million easy. You don't need to diversify, and people want to do that, right? They want to come up, and I'm guilty as charged, want to come up with like different offers. And what if you also do this thing? And you kind of feel like you're like hedging your bets or something, right? Like, well, like if we try all three, at least one of them is going to work out. Well, no, not if you're not giving the attention. And I think something to recognize too is that this shit is hard. It's really hard. Like it takes a lot of work and effort. And there are a lot of people who are like, oh, it's so easy. And to some extent, there's some truth in that, but it takes so much work to really dial it in and make it work and get it right. There's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of noise competing for people's attention. People's attention spans are short and getting shorter and shorter. And there's a reason that not everybody's has $1 million business, because it's hard and it's a lot of freaking work.
Yeah. So that's my shout out to the Academy, because I feel like if your tendency is to lean in more and just to the mindset, but you really have a business issue that needs to get those different engines working more streamlined and scalable and efficient, because it's both. And so that's why, that's just my shout out about the Academy, because I feel like you really covered both of those components with figuring out your engines and getting them working from a business standpoint.
That's amazing. That's what we aim to do. 100%. Yeah. Thank you so much, Anne. Yeah. So anybody here who has not spoken with Sammy about Academy yet, go talk to Sammy. Do we have a link? Can we post a link in the chat for where they can go schedule? Go book. Yeah. Find that and see if we can do that. Yeah. So Academy is I don't think I've talked really about it here. So Academy it was born out of conversations that I had with Simplero members who were looking for like a way to meet other people on Simplero and learn from them and kind of get to see, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And share insights, but also really get the coaching and training to up level their business, right? Like you don't know what you don't know. So like getting frameworks on how to think about it and getting the support to grow all aspects of your business, to take it, from 0 to 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month, and beyond, so that you have a consistent, stable, predictable business. And it's even if you're beyond that level, it's a great option to enroll your team in, right? So if you're at that level where you're making, really good money and you have a team with you, enroll them in Academy so they get the training, because there's like copywriting coaches and funnel coaching and sales coaching, as well as the training and hot seats and whatnot. And we're going to have the Pompa brothers. They're here as well. The Pompa program people who did this, like who took their business on Simplero from 0 to, I think they're mid 8 figures now. So that would be the last number I had was $35 million a year run rate, but I think they're above that now in like a couple of years, right? 2 years or something. So they're going to come in and talk about the keys that they've done. And there's a lot of other people that we're going to bring in to kind of open the kimono and share what they've done to build their business. So that was what we envisioned the Academy to be, that kind of one-stop shop for you guys to help on mindset and systems and implementation to take you and your team to 10, 20,000 a month and beyond. But that's it. So you just you go talk to Sammy, or Sean is on the team now as well, and see if it's a fit for what you're looking to do with your business. But we're definitely, working hard to support people with what they need to grow their business. So glad to have you there, and thanks so much for the shout out. Yeah. So yeah, Academy it's a coaching and mastermind program, right? So there's course content, there's the coaching, and then there's the smaller wisdom circles and accountability groups where you meet with a smaller group and provide support from each other and learn from each other. And then there's the forum, which obviously is of course on Simplero, so you can ask for help, and I'll jump in, or Sammy will jump in, or some other member will jump in and help. So yeah. David is saying is pretty expensive, isn't it? Well, I guess that all depends on value, right? Like, but hopefully the value is obviously there. I know for compared to other things in the market, it's very affordable. It's very, like, it's underpriced compared to a lot of other offers out there. So, and really striving to provide incredible value. So, cost versus price. Yeah, exactly. So that's Academy. Well, these were kind of the topics that I had top of mind. I'm going to quote my favorite quote again, that I think I quoted last time. I opened the show with it last time, which is from Calvin Coolidge. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. So that's sometimes, right, as entrepreneurs, we just need a word of encouragement to keep going. I remember there's a time a few months ago in the fall when I just had a really shitty day, and like it just seemed like everything was broken and everything was wrong. And I had to hop on a call with a Simplero member, and he was just unprompted. He was just saying, it was actually George, that cow who was here last week. So unprompted in the middle of the call, he was like, I kind of feel like Calvin's like a national treasure, and we need to really, really, like, cherish him, like how can we help here, like doing the Lord's work, or I forget how he phrased it exactly, but it was like, so what I needed to hear in that moment. And like it is just, we're as founders, it can get stressful, it can get lonely, it can get scary, it can get deep, really hard. But hey, keep going, and you will succeed. It's the only thing I know, and it's the only thing that's worked for me, is like, just keep going. Kristen is asking, talking about prices, what's your advice with price setting a course? The thing to think about with pricing is that it's all about it has to be strategic and not emotional. So what are you trying to do with the price? All right? Are you trying to, the price is going to be a signal to people about the value, about the kind of people that it's for. If you're running ads to your offer, then you have to calculate in what is your ad spend going to be like to acquire a customer, and how do you need to set your price so that you can spend the amount of money that you need to bring in the customers that you need to acquire. So it's what I'm seeing as price points for courses in the market right now. I'm seeing a lot of courses that are like $397, maybe $497, but then you sell them via a campaign where you drop it down to like $297 or $397 or something, right? So it's like that price point versus there's still the $2,000 price point is still a very valid used price point, like product launch formula. Jeff Walker did his launch with that. I think Marie Forleo's B School is, I'm sure, still $2,000. So it depends on so many factors on, what is the value, who's it for, like, and when I say value, like what's the promise, who's it for, how much coaching is there, if it's just a straight course. But what I'm seeing more and more, and what we talk about in Academy as well, is that you can go, if you do not just a course, but you do a coaching program where there's the course and there's some coaching aspects and some community aspects, so it's a group program, you can charge $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 even, depending on the market and the problem that you're solving for people, right? So if you can really kind of really crack a big problem for people, that's kind of the price range that you can go into. So that's my advice on setting prices for courses. It's kind of like, if you just wanted to be self-run and just a course and be kind of like yeah, then you can do that. You can do that at a lower price point. If you want to actually make money and be able to run ads to it, etc., you probably want to go higher. Say Davis says, late Miles Monroe said that cemeteries are the richest place in the world. In them are buried unstarted businesses, unwritten books, unwritten songs, dreams that have been buried. That's so true, man. Really is. Johan, can you explain the success formula really quick for the customer you mentioned, the Palmer Brothers? Yeah, I can. And we actually have a webinar up on this that we can drop in there. Or we can send it out to you guys after, maybe. I'm not sure it's cool. All the tech is ready yet. We've been putting that together. But the model that is really working for high ticket, and that's what if you want to get to that level. Oh yeah, the case study as well. Yeah, I was thinking about the funnel, the webinar funnel we're putting together. But anyway, yeah. If you want to get to that level of volume, right, of revenue, you have to do high ticket. It's going to be super hard to do at like a few $100 price point. And I think their price point is like $6,000. And so the model is that you run ads, typically Facebook, but could also be TikTok or Twitter or other LinkedIn or other platforms. You run ads, you send people to a webinar, a masterclass, an online training of some sort. And then from there, you get them to qualify by answering some questions and then schedule a call with you. And then on that call, you close, you pitch, you close the sale for that item. Like for high ticket, you can set it up so it's all automated and self-running. I'm definitely going to experiment with that at some point for us. But it's easier, especially if you're getting started, it's way easier to close it on a call because you can handle all the objections and everything else. And then you fulfill in a group format. I think the Pampa program also has some one-on-one coaching. So they have a whole part of they're master systems people. Back to that conversation with Anne, right? They're master systems people. So they have a whole system built for hiring and training salespeople because they're hiring so many salespeople to handle their insane volume of incoming leads. They have a whole system, a whole pipeline for hiring and training coaches because they have such a demand for coaches. But that model, basically, add to a some kind of pre-recorded video. It's not a live webinar, a pre-recorded video, which is a sales presentation. They actually do, and you can, quote unquote, funnel. You can go through, if you could search for Daniel Pompa in Facebook ads library, you can see the ads that run, and you can click through and you can see everything they're doing, right? So after their presentation, their webinar, they actually sell I think it's $167 test kit, which it gives you, they send something in the mail, and then there's an online questionnaire, like a long health questionnaire. And then only then do they schedule a call. So that's part of the $167 package, is that you get the test and something in mail, and then you get a call. And then on the call, there is the high ticket option. So that's even more gangster because they're getting paid upfront for even getting on a call, and that's helps qualify people as well, right? Because you don't want to waste time on a bunch of no shows, or a bunch of people who show up in the call and are not qualified, right? They're not they don't have the problem that you can solve, and they're not the kind of person that you work with, or they don't have the money, or they're not looking to solve this problem anytime soon, et cetera, et cetera. But that model adds to a video presentation that's pre-recorded, to qualification, to booking, to doing the sales conversation, to a group program. And it's exactly what we're doing in Academy as well. And we're rolling out, the webinar that we're rolling out is exactly for this, so that we can start running ads to that exact offer. And for that funnel, we might actually end up charging quite a bit more, just because we have ad spend to recoup there, and so it's just way more expensive for us to do it that way. We'll see what we do. We could also, again, to price strategy, right? We might sell it really cheap because we want volume, because we want to sell people on Simplero on the back end of that. Like you can experiment with these things, and that's how that business works. So, they are definitely winning. Jeff is saying, do you think different industries that your course is based on helping what people make in that industry? Yeah. Does price depend on the avatar that you're selling to? 100%, right? Of course. If your avatar is homeless people, they're probably going to have trouble paying you, right? So, and if they're billionaires, it's going to be easy for them to pay you. So, 1,000%, that has a big impact. Now, if they're in business, even if they're consumers, what you always want to do is you want to sell money at a discount, meaning that you sell something like, even if it's a set of pots and pans or something, right? Like, which is not the business that we're in. But even if you were selling pots and pans, you would want to make the argument that these pots and pans pay for themselves over like a year or 2 years, because you're going to use less electricity or gas, or you're going to be cooking more home, and so you're going to be saving money. And like, you always want to kind of figure out a way to explain the offer and the price so that it's essentially free for them to buy, because they're going to make so much or save so much money from this. So that is, that's how we want to do it. Super cool, guys. It was super fun to see you again every Thursday at 1 p.m. Let me see here if we got everything. I think we did. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, for those of you who are interested in Academy, definitely schedule there. What was it? Simplero.com/Academy offer is the link that you can go to, and there's a scheduling link right there. And then keep at it. Stay hungry for the next week until I see you all again. Invite all your friends. I think we'll start to bring some more guests on like we did last week, but we didn't do that this week. Next week is going to be fun too because I'm going to be on one of those red eyes from Vegas back to New York, and so I'll be like, completely red-eyed on our next one. But it should be fun nonetheless. All right, y'all. So good to see you. Have a phenomenal week, and we'll catch up next week.